The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is perhaps the most important game in the series, and certainly the most important game of my life. A story of loss, of growing up to face the challenges of adulthood. With a full remake releasing sometime this year, 2026, what better time than now to look back at this game, at its world and its story, with a full playthrough, focusing on absorbing as much of this original N64 version as possible. My dad bought this game for one of my earliest birthdays, and although I don't remember it, I was apparently just fascinated by this title screen, of adult Link riding Epona across Hyrule Field, as the beautiful title music plays. This theme is, of course, built around the flute sound from Zelda 1, also heard with Super Mario Bros. 3's Warp Whistle, but it's most famous here as the best opening theme of any Zelda game. So let's start with our name, which, as with every Zelda game up until Breath of the Wild, you can choose yourself. But as we're really trying to immerse ourselves in this game and this lore, let's just stick with Link and start the game. In the vast, deep forest of Hyrule, long have I served as the guardian spirit. I am known as the Deku Tree. The children of the forest, the Kokiri, live here with me. Each Kokiri has his or her own guardian fairy. However, there is one boy who does not have a fairy. So, just like with the teaser trailer, this is where the game begins. But unlike the teaser trailer, we see what Link was dreaming of. The gates of Hyrule Castletown, where he sees Zelda and Impa escaping on horseback on that white mare. And of course, a little tease of the game's main villain, Ganondorf, in his first series appearance. Navi, Navi, where art thou? Come hither. Oh, Navi the fairy, listen to my words, the words of the Deku Tree. Dost thou sense it, the climate of evil descending upon this realm? Malevolent forces even now are mustering to attack our land of Hyrule. For so long, the Kokiri Forest, the source of life, has stood as a barrier, deterring outsiders and maintaining the order of the world. But before this tremendous evil power, even my power is as nothing. It seems the time has come for the boy without a fairy to begin his journey. The youth whose destiny it is to lead Hyrule to the path of justice and truth. Navi, go now. Find our young friend and guide him to me. I do not have much time left. Fly, Navi, fly! The fate of the forest, nay, the world, depends upon thee. So that was the voice of the Great Deku Tree, the guardian spirit of the Kokiri Forest, which, as he says, acts as a barrier on the edge of Hyrule and protects the land from outsiders. Kokiri Forest, here where the game begins, an adorable woodland village, with all these houses carved out of tree trunks, and it's inhabited by the Kokiri themselves, these childlike forest spirits. The Kokiri are actually the same spirits as the Koroks, who appear in the Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, so these are childlike fairy spirits who never grow up, and they each have their own guardian fairy, a little orb of light with wings, essentially. All but Link, that is, and we'll discover why that is later on in the story. And here's Navi, so sent by the Great Deku Tree to Link, who is a boy with a grand destiny. Hello Link, wake up! The Great Deku Tree wants to talk to you. Link, get up! Hey, come on! Can Hyrule's destiny really depend on such a lazy boy? He's not quite as lazy as Breath of the Wild's Link, who slept for 100 years before the game, But yeah, this is another example of the Link asleep at the start of the game trope. You finally woke up. I'm Navi the Fairy. The Great Deku Tree asked me to be your partner from now on. Nice to meet you. The Great Deku Tree has summoned you, so let's get going, right now. And here we are in Link's house, which is, interestingly, we begin with a overhead bird's eye perspective camera. I've seen some people suggest that maybe this is a way of easing in players from the transition from older Zelda, like A Link to the Past, to 3D Zelda, like Ocarina of Time, which could be the case. Obviously, you can press up on the C buttons to transition to this, which is a more normal camera for Ocarina of Time, although obviously it's still fixed in the center of Link's room here. You can see a couple of cool details, like some of Link's possessions, some pitchforks and buckets and a bale of hay, various kind of farming and woodsman tools like a hatchet or an axe, and some hose, I guess. Might be a mirror on a table. Link's bed, you can see more of Kokiri Forest in the background. This, I don't think we can interact with this yet. Eventually, later on in this game, this becomes a notice board, keeping track of various collectibles and high scores Link has gotten in different things across the game. Some sort of fruit on the table there. It's quite a nice little snack. But let's head out into Kokiri Forest. So here we are. Kokiri Forest, which is Link's hometown, where he's lived for all of the years of his life that he can remember. Among the Kokiri, one of which is here, Saria. Yahoo! Hi, Link! So let's go and talk to her. Wow, a fairy! Finally, a fairy came to you, Link. Wow, that's great news! I'm so happy for you! Now you're a true Kokiri, Link! Is that right? The Great Deku Tree has summoned you! It's quite an honor to talk to the Great Deku Tree. I'll wait for you here. Get going! Go see the Great Deku Tree! So yeah, that's our task. As the Great Deku Tree ordered Navi to bring us there, and Saria's kind of repeated it, or rather Link has said that to Saria, which is an example of Link speaking, which he does, we just don't hear what he says. Yeah, we've got to go see the Great Deku Tree, who is over here. But first, I just wanted to show this off. On the side of Link's treehouse, which is where we started the game, there's this, a little carving of a small figure with a sword and a shield, and something that looks like a dinosaur, which seems confusing at first, but considering the game began with a premonition of an event that hasn't yet happened, I do wonder if... Okay, Navi wants to speak to us. Great Deku Tree has summoned you, please come with me. Sure. I do wonder if this is potentially an example of that. We do fight something later on in the game that kind of resembles that dinosaur thing, so maybe Link dreamed of it and decided to immortalize it by carving it into his house. But yeah, this is Kokiri Forest. As I said, all these little tree houses, which it's just adorable. It's one of my favourite places in the Zelda series. One of the best starting areas in the game. It's just so homely, so peaceful, so nostalgic. But obviously, Saria and Navi want us to leave, but we can't. We're blocked by this guy, Mido. Hey you, Mr. No Fairy. What's your business with the Great Deku Tree? Without a fairy, you're not even a real man. What? You've got a fairy? Say what? The Great Deku Tree actually summoned you? What? Why would he summon you and not the Great Mido? This isn't funny. I don't believe it. You aren't even fully equipped yet. How do you think you're going to help the Great Deku Tree without both a sword and shield ready? What? You're right, I don't have my equipment ready, but if you want to pass through here, you should at least equip a sword and shield. Sheesh! So yeah, that's our quest for the game's tutorial, is to grab a sword and a shield. A shield we can buy from here, which is the shop. But first we have to talk to this girl. Hi Link, look this way. Look over here with Z and talk to me with A. Here we go. Yes, that's how you use a fairy. It's so great that you finally have a fairy partner. I'll teach you how to talk to people using your fairy. When a fairy flies near a person or thing, press Z to look in that direction. If you use Z targeting, you can talk to people from a distance, like we're doing now. When you have nothing that you can target, you can press Z just to look forward. Try it. So yeah, she's teaching us about Z targeting, one of Ocarina of Time's big new mechanics. Which is actually where Navi, the fairy, gets her name from. It was originally called the Fairy Navigation System, and was originally based on a form of Japanese performative sword fighting. It's where they got the idea for the ability to lock, link, and move in relation to something else like that. But either way, this is the Kokiri shop. I've always loved this guy. Because he's a Kokiri, because he's a child, he's too small to be a shopkeeper, so has to keep hopping to look over the counter. But you can see we've got the Kokiri shield here, the Deku shield, but it's 40 rupees, which we can't quite yet afford yet. We've got 5 from that, although you can't see it at the moment because I've hidden most of the HUD to kind of have this Let's Play be as immersive as possible. Because as I said in the beginning, I wanted this to be kind of a bit of a last hurrah for the original Ocarina of Time, at least in terms of myself. I can't see myself not playing this after the remake. As I said in the beginning, again, this game is so nostalgic for me. It's so connected to my childhood, and obviously it's one of my most replayed games, both this and the 3DS version. So I can't see myself ever not playing this version, but I did want to do one final full run through, just throwing myself into this world, just taking it nice and slow, talking about everything that I feel needs to be talked about. So yeah, if you're interested in that, then hopefully this series will be of some use to you. I've realised I've got the wrong Z targeting mode on. You can either have it on, I think it's called Switch and Swap or something like that. Either way, there's one mode where you hold down Z while you want to target, and there's another one where it's kind of a toggle, which I've got on at the moment, which I don't really love. So maybe I'll change that for the next episode. But either way, let's go through this tunnel and see what we can find on the other side. So we're still looking for a sword and shield. We know a shield's 40 rupees, which we'll have to kind of work out how to gather that many rupees. But until then, let's see what we can find in here. If we go this way, there's a blue rupee, which is 5. Let's not get crushed by the boulder, and run up here. We find a chest. What does the sign say? Visit the house of the Know-It-All Brothers to get answers to all your item-related questions. And here we get one of the most iconic things that Ocarina of Time added to the series. Among all of the iconic things is the chest opening cutscene. And of course we get the Kokiri sword. This is a hidden treasure of the Kokiri, but you can borrow it for a while. Be sure to practice with it before you really fight. So let's go to the gear screen and equip the Kokiri sword. So now, there we go, we've got a weapon. We can cut grass, we can do all sorts of things with this. I've always found it interesting that the Kokiri have a secret treasure, which is a sword. Considering the Kokiri have always felt very much to me like the hobbits from the Lord of the Rings. Kind of very, this is the very image of peace and tranquility in the forest, and these childlike forest spirits are so innocent, which is why later on in the game, when Kokiri Forest becomes affected by the events of the game, it hits so hard. But because of that, I've always found it strange that they do have a sword, and that's the special item of the Kokiri. Perhaps it's similar to the Forest Dwellers equipment, which you get in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which is apparently... Oh yeah, of course you can also cut signs in the game. Actually, let's go to the water and show something off of that. But the Forest Dwellers equipment in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom was made for Hylians by the Dwellers of the Forest. So perhaps something similar with this, or maybe it is meant to be used by the Kokiri. Either way, it's used by Link now. But yeah, if we cut signs near water, the sign will, splash and float properly on the water, which, considering this game's from 1998 on the Nintendo 64, is just crazy attention to detail. That was a Miyamoto thing, adding this. I think there's some story about where Eiji Aonuma, who's now the director of the Legend of Zelda series, but he worked on the dungeons for this. There's a story where he was working on, I think, the Water Temple, the very complicated dungeon, really struggling, putting in overtime. And then Shigeru Miyamoto walks into the office, absolutely beaming, and says, look, if you cut signs, they float on the water. Which is just kind of hilarious and shows different priorities, but I'd never want this game... Well, I mean, this game wouldn't exist without Miyamoto, but it's the little Miyamoto touches that kind of just make it so great. This here is actually Saria's house. You know, the girl we talked to at the very start of the game, who's Link's closest childhood friend down here. And the way we know this is from this Kokiri here. That meanie, Mido, made me cut the grass at Saria's house. Mido told Saria he would do it so she would like him, but I'm the one doing all the work. You and Saria are close friends, so will you help me cut the grass? I'll let you keep anything that you find while cutting it. Sure, let's see what we find. Which is cool, you know, so there we get... Mido is kind of jealous of Link on 2 accounts now. Not only... I don't think we can cut the one that he's trying to cut, no. On 2 accounts, not only because Link has been chosen by the Deku Tree, but also because Link is close to Saria. So yeah, he really doesn't like us. And I've always found it interesting how in Saria's house, there's a few hearts, recovery hearts, which, I don't know, maybe it's saying something, maybe it's a little nod towards a kind of implied closeness between Link and Saria, but who knows. But anyway, let's go up here and grab some more rupees, because we're still trying to get towards that big 40. Let me just check on here, it will say our total rupee count. No, it doesn't say. Let's grab another 5 here. Let's see what this Kokiri has to say. Hee hee hee, you came all the way up here. You're a real man. Look, isn't this view pretty? Change your viewpoint with C up, so you can look around the forest with control stick. And it is pretty. Yeah, very nice. Over there's always been interesting to me, that little raised ledge above the shop. Something Child Link can't get to, but Adult Link can, for quite an underwhelming reward, but we'll see that later on in the game. Also, this little waterfall's nice. Just listening to the water's pretty relaxing. Another interesting thing about the Kokiri is that you can't see them from afar. You can only see their fairies. And if we go closer, they fade in. Which is obviously just a quirk of, you know, being on the Nintendo 64. But that's the whole reason that they added fairies for each of the Kokiri. Which is kind of an interesting story behind why the lore is the way it is in this game. You know, because it's a, you know, hardware limitations becoming lore is quite interesting. Well, let's hop across these. There's certain spots where if you do little jumps and challenges, you get bonus rupees, which is always stood out as interesting. I'm just going to nip into the shop because I've hidden the HUD, I can't see my rupee count. So let's see what we have now. We might have enough. We do have enough. There we go. You got a Deku Shield. Press R to crouch and defend. If you press R while Z targeting, you can move while defending. Would you like to buy something else? No, I'm all good for now. Other than that, as you can see, there's a recovery heart, arrows, what are these called? Seeds for a slingshot, which we don't have yet, Deku nuts, and a Deku stick. But let's equip the Deku Shield. So it doesn't say it anywhere in the game, as far as I'm aware, but the Deku Shield is apparently made from bark from the Great Deku Tree, which it says in one of the player guides for this. So not strictly canon, because it doesn't say in the game itself, but another item here, the Deku Stick is a long branch gathered from the Great Deku Tree. So yeah, it wouldn't be abnormal, I guess, wouldn't be unusual if this Deku Shield was indeed made with bark from the Great Deku Tree, being the sacred guardian of the forest. But either way, that about does it for the Kokiri Forest for now. We'll be returning to this area all the time, obviously. Up here, all the way up on that hill, is the Lost Woods, which we can actually explore at this point in the game. There's no need to right now. For now, let's flex on Mido. If you want to see the Great Deku Tree, you should at least equip a sword and shield. Eh? What's that? Oh, you have a Deku Shield. And what's that? Is that the Kokiri sword? Good grief. Well, even with all that stuff, a wimp is still a wimp, huh? I, the great Mido, will never accept you as one of us. Shoot, how did you get to be the favourite of Saria and the Great Deku Tree? Huh? Grumble, grumble. Say he's not too pleased. But either way, we can head through, finally. And we'll encounter our first monsters here. Here they are. Deku Babas. So, these are presumably because of the corruption which the Great Deku Tree will tell us about pretty soon. But if we stab them like that, we'll get Deku Sticks, which, as the shop said, is made from branches of the Deku Tree. So, I don't know if these are implied to be kind of poisoned roots of the Deku Tree, which are kind of reaching out. I don't know, because we find them in other locations in the game that wouldn't make sense. So I'm not too sure. But either way, they're not good. They're evil things. And here he is. The Great Deku Tree. Let's go see what he has to say. Great Deku Tree, I'm back! Oh, Navi, thou hast returned. Link, welcome. Listen carefully to what I, the Deku Tree, am about to tell thee. Thy slumber these past moons must have been restless and full of nightmares. As the servants of evil gain strength, a vile climate pervades the land and causes nightmares to those sensitive to it. Verily, thou hast felt it. Link, the time has come to test thy courage. I have been cursed. I need you to break the curse with your wisdom and courage. Dost thou have courage enough to undertake this task? We do, but I'm going to say no for now. Just because you get some extra little shots of the Deku Tree which we wouldn't see otherwise. Perhaps you do not yet have confidence in your abilities. Return to the Kokiri Forest to learn the skills of combat. When thou art ready, return here and speak with me by using Z. Yeah, if we say no to whether or not we have the courage, we're allowed to explore this area while he has his mouth closed, which obviously he'll open it up if we say yes, because the first dungeon of the game, the first proper challenge, is inside the Deku Tree. But it's interesting that he mentions that with the evil rising in the world, that's what causes Link and others sensitive to it to have these premonitions. So obviously Link's having these, as we know, as we saw, but also other characters in the game. There's one important character in particular who's also having these nightmares, which we'll talk to later. I've just loved this area, especially when the Deku Tree isn't yelling at us, you know, his jaw isn't agape. It's just always been, I don't know, it just stands out so beautiful. The Great Deku Tree's meadow. When the combat music's not playing, because obviously he's a little bit poisoned at the moment. But anyway, let's go inside. Let's see what he's got to say. I have been cursed. I need you to break the curse with your wisdom and courage. Dost thou have courage? Yes. Then enter, brave Link, and thou too, Navi. Navi the fairy. Thou must aid Link. And Link, when Navi speaks, use C up to listen well to her words of wisdom. And there we go. So, the game's first challenge, inside the Deku Tree. Let's go. So as the Deku Tree said, he's been cursed. He hasn't told us who by or what the curse is, but as we explore his innards, we'll learn that he isn't particularly healthy. And we've got some more of these Deku Babas, although these ones are slightly more advanced, so these ones will either stand upright, as the other ones did, but these ones will also lunge at Link. And there's a way to get two different items from this. So if we kill it when it is upright, like this, we'll get a Deku Stick. But, as you can see, if we wait, and if we kill it when it's like this, if it lunges at me. Okay, that's stunning it. Wait, I need to jump attack it. Of course, you need 2 hits. Oh, okay. Maybe I need the... Ah, there you go. You can get a Deku Nut, which is actually one of the most useful items in the game. Although you might not think it at first. Let's equip this, and let's equip that. So the Deku Nut is kind of like a stun grenade, which is cool. So it does that, which is just huge. Obviously, you know, maybe not too helpful against Deku Babas, but there's some later enemies in the game that it does affect, which is very useful. I'm going to climb this ladder and then see what Navi says, because she's shouting at me. Oh, she's stopped. I've always loved the music in here as well. It's hard to describe, like, how Koji Kondo made a song that sounds hollow, but it does. I know Ocarina of Time's soundtrack makes use of a lot of sound libraries. There's some really great YouTube videos that I'll perhaps link in the description that find the source files for Zelda music, which you know, I absolutely love to hear. And I think this is from one of those audio libraries. But still, yeah, so cool. Here we get another one of the game's basic enemies. These are... Okay, look at this wall. The vines growing on it give a rough surface. Maybe you can climb it, Link. Yeah, we can't at the moment, though, because there's these guys. Another one of the game's basic enemies, Skulltulas. Name obviously coming from skull and tarantula. These always used to terrify me as a kid. Not only because they're giant spiders, but they've got a skull staring at you from their back. Very, very creepy. Let's see what's in this chest. The dungeon map. Fantastic. So again, I've hidden it because I've gone for a really minimal HUD. But had I been showing everything, you'd get a mini-map in the bottom right showing the layout of this dungeon. You can open a door by standing in front of it and pressing A. Thank you. Okay, here's another basic enemy. These are Deku Scrubs, who I don't think we're meant to believe are strictly evil in the same way that maybe Skulltulas and everything else are. Because these speak to you. Ow, ow, ow. Forgive me, master. If I give you a clue, will you let me go? When you jump off a high cliff, if you hold control stick forward, you'll roll on the ground when you land and you won't get hurt from the fall. I can't guarantee it will work, though, if the cliff is really, really high. Heh. Well, try it if you're feeling bold. Wahaha. And then gives us a heart. Also, the first appearance of the Zelda puzzle solved jingle, which we just heard there, which you'll hear a lot through the game. But yeah, Deku Scrubs are cool. Obviously, that's what Link gets transformed into in Majora's Mask, is one of these guys. Originally, during development, they were going to be an enemy called Hobbit, which, as I was saying earlier, goes back to the whole Kokiri Forest, the Shire, Lord of the Rings connection. The other main races in Ocarina of Time all seem very Tolkien-coded to me. But I'll point them out as we see them. Let's climb this vine and head up here. And in this chest, we've got something big. It's the game's first proper item that isn't a dungeon map or a compass. The Fairy Slingshot, which is really, really useful for Child Link. It's a ranged weapon, using Deku Seeds, which are those things we could have bought in the shop. And up here, get a little chest, which I think just has a heart in it. Let me have a look. Yeah, just a recovery heart. But still, cool. Nice little chest on an area. And I didn't jump on it when I entered the room, but had I jumped on this, it would collapse. Which would have meant, I might as well show it off, would have meant we'd needed the Fairy Slingshot to get out of this room. Just a little tiny puzzle to force new players to use the item that they've just got. It drops the ladder like that. Again, all these cobwebs inside the Deku Tree. We don't know for sure yet, but these are hints at the corruption that has taken hold inside the Great Deku Tree. Who, like I said at the start, is the guardian deity of the forest. So it's more of a Japanese concept, I think, a guardian deity. But he's described a few times. I might try and find the dialogue after the Great Deku Tree. I can't remember which Kokiri it is in particular. But there's a few Kokiri that talk about the Great Deku Tree as their father. And I think that's kind of in quite a literal sense. I think the Great Deku Tree did give birth, in a way, to the spirits of the forest. I think that makes sense. A little bit more ammo for our slingshot. So he is, in essence, their father. But as we see with the other elemental regions in Ocarina of Time, so there's the forest, but then there's Death Mountain for fire, and Zora's Domain for water, each region has its own guardian deity, this kind of elemental spirit. And the Great Deku Tree is obviously the spirit of the forest, a sentient tree who's guarded it for ages. Yeah, but obviously these Skulltula weren't in him during the earlier years, perhaps, of his watch over the forest. So here's a puzzle room, one of the first ones in the game. Let's just kill this guy first. That should be a Deku stick. Yeah, because he was straight as I killed him. And if we hit this, which interestingly has the mark of the Gerudo on it, as with all of the switches in the game, which I don't think is anything more than a case of reused assets. I'll show, I'll show off a clearer one, or maybe when I exit this room, I'll show it off in more detail. All of the switches and the moving blocks and everything in this game all bear the Gerudo emblem. There's a compass in there, which really isn't anything more than reused assets. But yeah, I've seen some interesting theories. Just because you know the out-of-universe explanation for something doesn't mean you can't make theories about it. Obviously, this is the old Gerudo emblem. They went on to change it in later releases of Ocarina of Time because that's very similar to the Crescent Moon of Islam, which Nintendo really shies away from any kind of real-world religious connotations. So it makes sense why they changed that. There's a couple other things that I can talk about later on that they also changed. But yeah, I've seen some very interesting theories that the Gerudo, because it's in the desert, controls all of the sandstone, which maybe built the blocks and the switches. But I really don't think it's more than reused assets. But either way, we found our first gold Skulltula, who you kill for gold Skulltula tokens. So we don't know what they do yet, but we'll find out pretty soon. And another recovery heart in there as well. We could probably just leave this guy doing his thing, just jumping around. We'll actually be made to use our Deku sticks here. This is one of the classic Zelda puzzles. There's an unlit torch. I wonder what we do. I think overall, this is one of my favourite starting dungeons in Zelda. I think it really does its job amazingly well. You'll see we're already a decent portion through the dungeon. It's really not that long, but it does everything it needs to do. It teaches you about the game. It's just kind of the design is very satisfying. It feels eerie, but not too terrifying at this point in the game. It hits all the bases for me. And another thing it does really well, obviously this is the first 3D game in the Zelda series, so it has to teach the player about how to move Link in a 3D world. And one of the big things is this. So all the way down here, we can see a spider web near where we fought the Deku Babas at the start, which if we walked on it, which I don't think I did, kind of wobbles, which is a hint that we can break it if we jump all the way from the top. Hey, we have enough force to break through it and reach the bottom section of the dungeon. So with this in particular, there's this underground river the Great Deku Tree appears to be sitting on. Like here we get the roots of the Great Deku Tree, which obviously aren't looking too good. They're looking a bit grey and diseased. But the fact that there's this underground river with these kind of grates, which I think they do look like wood in this version of the game. Yeah, rather than metal, I think wood makes sense. Fairy slingshot this thing. Another gold sculpture. But I've always thought that, yeah, the fact that the Great Deku Tree's roots kind of are built around this underground river, obviously that's how a tree of the size of the Great Deku Tree is getting enough water to survive. But it also suggests that maybe the Great Deku Tree was planted here, over not only this underground river to feed it, but also all of this clearly man-made stuff. So the torches, over there's a stone tunnel that Link will have to crawl through. Everything like that. You know, I've always thought perhaps the Deku Tree was deliberately planted here. And the reason for that, the only reason that really makes sense, is that Link was destined to go on this journey, as the Great Deku Tree said at the beginning of the game. The boy without a fairy whose destiny it is to restore justice or something along those lines. The hero of time throughout the whole journey will see more and more that there's kind of a lot of evidence that his quest is kind of predestined for him. It's like he almost didn't have a choice but to go on this quest. So perhaps the Great Deku Tree was planted here because of that. But anyway, let's use this fire. Because in many ways, Link is not only, during this section, let's destroy this guy, he's not only helping cure the Great Deku Tree, or at least trying to do that, Please forgive me, master. I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. If you spare me, I'll teach you something cool. You'll never beat my brothers up ahead unless you punish them in the proper order. The order is 2, 3, 1. 23 is number 1. You think I'm a traitor? Nah, you're cool. You helped me. Obviously, yeah, the Link is helping the Great Deku Tree, or trying to help the Great Deku Tree, rid it of this corruption. But also, he's proving himself, like the Great Deku Tree said, using wisdom and courage to overcome this task. So if the Great Deku Tree was planted here, perhaps it was to help Link prove himself, or to force him to prove himself. Navi teaching us about swimming here. Because obviously there's this platform, but there's rolling spikes over it, which we won't be able to do. If we swim under here, and swim all the way down, we can press this Gerudo switch to raise the water level, lower the water level, sorry, temporarily. The ticking clock's always very nerve-wracking, but we should have plenty of time. Even if it speeds up in a sec, we should be good. Like I said, there's the beginning dungeon, all very, very lenient. I'm really, really interested to see how this is redone. I think this will absolutely look fantastic if all these walls are, instead of muddy N64 textures, if they're packed earth and we see the roots of the Great Deku Tree above. I just think this place will look gorgeous. I mean, I think all of the remake will look gorgeous. I've got complete faith in that. But this place especially, just 'cause it's so early on, it'll really help shape... Thank you, Navi. It'll really help shape new players' opinions of this game. So they really need to get this right, and I think they will. I think this will look absolutely outstanding. But as Navi said, let's move this block again, as you can see with the Gerudo symbol, the crescent moon and the star. And now we can hop up. The other explanation, I suppose, for the Gerudo blocks being in all the dungeons is maybe it's a sign of Ganondorf's influence. As I said, I don't think it is that, but maybe that would make sense, since he's had his hand in all of these dungeons. There you go, an enemy there telling us what we need to do. Light these torches. And then if you stand with a torch long enough, it will burn down. Or you can just put it away, or roll, or swing your sword, or something. Maybe not roll, actually. But swing your sword and it'll go away, and it won't burn. Let's grab some more of these, more rupees. I may, in future videos, I'll obviously change the Z targeting, but I may also turn some more of the HUD on. I really wanted to make this kind of as immersive as possible, but I don't like not seeing my rupees, at least. I'd like to see that. Here we get a new type of enemy, and this one's particularly important to this dungeon. These eggs on the ceiling. I think you can just shoot them to kill them. Oh no, you can't. Interesting. I thought you could. So I guess we stand under them to make them hatch. And we get these. So these are Goma lava, which hints at the boss of this dungeon. So they're horrible, parasitic, I don't know, are they... Oh, there you go, got hit by that. Are they meant to be insects? Are they kind of crabs? I don't know. We know with the boss, Goma, who we'll see in a second, the answer is both. Another hit there. Hopefully I'll be able to get a heart back from this. Nope, no worries. The answer is both. We'll see Goma later on. It's kind of both a crab and there you go, crab and an insect blended together. We can use a Deku stick to burn this. Get a nice chest jingle. But we can't do anything with this yet. This funny wall behind the Deku Baba is actually a bombable wall. We don't have bombs, so we can't do anything with it yet. But I will actually need fire to go and burn this. Which will let us reach that raised ledge from the river area, which we could see, but we couldn't get to. So this area, where we have another one of these bouncy webs, but obviously no high vantage point from which to jump down, just more withered Deku Tree roots. I'm just going to kill these guys just to get rid of the annoying combat music. Grab a Deku stick for it. But we do have this. We do have another one of these sandstone Gerudo blocks, which we can push down Not only to give us a shortcut for when we come back with the bombs, so we don't have to go on that winding route through the tree, but also because we need to get down there to get that torch. It's the only way to get through this without a high vantage point. But I have also just realised that I was too busy talking about underground rivers and roots of giant god trees that I forgot to grab another one of the game's sculptures up here, which will be... I didn't grab on. Which will be our third one. So there are 100 of these total in the game. Yeah, number 3. And like I said earlier, we don't yet know what they're for. But it's quite a cool side quest. You know, it's the same kind of idea that they kind of reintroduce later on with Korok seeds, although there's a much less egregious number of these in the game. 100's a lot more manageable, and they're pretty well spread out throughout the world. There's a few in each dungeon, and then there's multiple ones spread out throughout the overworld. And yeah, it's a kind of a really cool side quest that I can't wait to explore. But here in the final room of the Great Deku Tree, just before the boss chamber. Got a few more of these spider webs again, kind of hinting towards the boss. And 3 Deku scrubs. So these are the 3 that the one we just fought was telling us about. These are the brothers. So you need to remember what that guy said, what the first Deku scrub said, and remember the code, which is 231. 23 is number 1. So that's number 1. Bam. So we hit him, and that's the correct code. How did you know our secret? How irritating. It's so annoying that I'm going to reveal the secret of Queen Goma to you. In order to administer the coup de grace to Queen Goma, strike with your sword while she's stunned. Oh, Queenie. Sorry about that. Yeah, so these Deku Scrubs, maybe that does explain it then. Maybe it explains what they are. That they are technically affiliated with, you know, the Kakiri Forest and the Great Deku Tree. Deku in Japanese basically just means wooden doll or wooden puppet. So that's where that comes from and all these various things. But maybe they're just pretty treacherous. You know, one abandoned his brothers and then these 3 abandoned the queen. So maybe they're just kind of a little bit, they go with the flow. But anyway, let's head through here and see what awaits us. But just before I do, let's have a quick look around here. Awesome, awesome boss chamber. More of the roots of the Deku Tree above us, kind of withered and grey, and there, hanging from the ceiling, you can see her. Queen Goma, the source of the corruption, the parasite. Let's head into the chamber, and things get dark as we head in a second. Oh, this, the foggy floor, just what they managed to do in 1998 with the atmosphere of this game is just incredible. Here we go, now it gets dark, so we can't see anything really, except this single glowing eye, the divide symbol of death. Half crab, half spider, parasitic armored arachnid Goma. Let's see what Navi has to say. Goma, it's one of the parasitic monsters inside the Deku Tree. Its eye is vulnerable when it's red. So it's not only one of the parasitic monsters, this is the queen of the parasitic monsters that was sent as part of the curse, where Ganondorf was attempting to extort a particular item from the Deku Tree. It's an item we'll see not too long from now. It's always left a little unclear whether or not it was Ganondorf himself who entered the Kakiri Forest to talk to the Deku Tree, or whether he just sent Goma skulking in. I think I prefer the second explanation. That's the one the manga takes anyway. But here we see Goma hatching some of her eggs. There we go, just like the ones we saw hanging on the ceiling. We can actually pop these ones. I'll let one hatch, just so you can see it hatch. Into a Goma lava, which I don't think I examined last time. But Navi, like with most enemies in this game, doesn't have any real lore to drop on them. It's mainly just how to beat them. She is very much your guidance system, as her name suggests. Come here, little dude. There you go. And there is Goma up here. So we can... there we go. So we should need one more cycle. She'll attack with her claws. You hit her in the eye with the slingshot. Maybe a couple spin attacks. Should do it. There we go. Not one of the most challenging Zelda bosses, but a really good introduction to combat in Ocarina of Time. 3D Zelda combat, again. First entry in the series to do this. And I think Queen Goma is just a perfect boss to introduce that. Just, again, like I said, just great environment. Just awesome boss overall. Right, if we look around, just Just beautiful setting. Just really, really cool. And here we get our first heart container, bringing us up to 4. And a portal to take us out of the dungeon. Just before I do, another little look around. Awesome. The withered grey roots of the Deku Tree. Because even though we've stopped the parasite itself, we've stopped Queen Goma, the Deku Tree is still not in particularly good nick, as you can tell by the state of its roots. So yeah, the curse on the Great Deku Tree, more physical, I guess, than magical. You hear curse, you kind of think of some sort of voodoo spell or something. But in this case, it was something, there was a real source of it. There was a parasitic armoured arachnid deep under the Deku Tree, sapping away at its life from his roots. It was quite horrible. Thou hast verily demonstrated thy courage. I knew that thou wouldst be able to carry out my wishes. Now I have yet more to tell ye, wouldst thou listen? Now listen carefully. A wicked man of the desert cast this dreadful curse upon me. This evil man ceaselessly uses his vile, sorcerous powers in search for the sacred realm that is connected to Hyrule. For it is in that sacred realm that one will find the divine relic, the Triforce, which contains the essence of the gods. Before time began, before spirits and life existed, 3 golden goddesses descended upon the chaos that was Hyrule. Din, the goddess of power. Nehru, the goddess of wisdom. Farore, the goddess of courage. Din. With her strong flaming arms, she cultivated the land and created the Red Earth. Nehru poured her wisdom onto the earth and gave the spirit of law to the world. Farore, with her rich soul, produced all life forms who would uphold the law. The 3 great goddesses, their labours completed, departed for the heavens, and golden sacred triangles remained at the point where the goddesses left the world. Since then, the sacred triangles have become the basis of our world's providence, and the resting place of the triangles has become the sacred realm. Thou must never allow the desert man in black armour to lay his hands on the sacred Triforce. Thou must never suffer that man, with his evil heart, to enter the sacred realm of legend. That evil man who cast the death curse upon me and sapped my power. Because of that curse, my end is nigh. Though your valiant efforts to break the curse were successful, I was doomed before you started. Yes, I will pass away soon, but do not grieve for me. I have been able to tell you of these important matters. This is Hyrule's final hope. Link, go now to Hyrule Castle. There thou wilt surely meet the Princess of Destiny. Take this stone with you, the stone that man wanted so much that he cast the curse on me. got the Kokiri Emerald. This is the spiritual stone of the forest, now entrusted to you by the Great Deku Tree. The future depends upon thee, Link. Thou art courageous. Navi the fairy, help Link to carry out my will. I entreat ye, Navi. Goodbye. And with that, the Great Deku Tree passes away. So although we killed Goma and rid the Deku Tree of the curse, it was too late. Let's go to Hyrule Castle, Link. Navi doesn't seem too bothered. Goodbye, Great Deku Tree. Which, again, is more evidence that the Great Deku Tree's inside the Great Deku Tree, sending Link in there to fight Goma, to prove his wisdom and courage, was something more of a trial, to ready the hero of time for the journey that he is about to embark on. Either way, we need to speak to Mido. Hey Link, what did you do? The Great Deku Tree, did he die? How could you do a thing like that? It's all your fault. So yeah, he really doesn't like us now. If you think he didn't like us before, now he thinks we've killed his father and his god. Obviously, it wasn't really our fault. We tried, but yeah, the Great Deku Tree is gone. I wanted to find the... there are a few... Maybe it's... I think it might be this one by the water. Maybe she has different dialogue now the Great Deku Tree's dead. What? Where are you going? To the castle? Where is the castle? Yeah, she has dialogue, I think, before the Deku Tree, before you've been in the Deku Tree, talking about how he gave life to all of the Kokiri. But now she's talking about the castle. So I just went back and checked, and yes, she does have dialogue before you beat the Great Deku Tree, calling the Great Deku Tree their father, who gave life to all of us Kokiri. Oh, you have a fairy now. That's great, Link. What? You've been called by the Great Deku Tree? What an honour! He may give you a special gift. That's because the Great Deku Tree is our father, the Forest Guardian, and he gave life to all of us Kokiri. Which is a, yeah, interesting little lore tidbit. It's already pretty clear just from kind of clues you can pick up in normal gameplay and through the main story, but it's cool that it's spelled out explicitly here. Do you change dialogue? What, where are you going? Okay, maybe they all have the same dialogue now about the castle. What about this one here? We Kokiri will die if we leave the forest. You're not going to try and leave the forest, are you? Okay, no. This guy, I think one of the Know-It-All brothers, has a different dialogue. Yeah, and the Kokiri believe they will die if they leave the forest. And as far as we know, that's true. Which makes it interesting that Link has been told by the Deku Tree to leave the forest and go to Hyrule Castle. Obviously there's information we'll learn later on in the game that will explain that, which is that Link isn't a Kokiri, he's a Hylian. And he was placed here in the Kokiri forest in the care of the Great Deku Tree by his mother during the events of the Hyrule Civil War. Which all of Ocarina of Time is this fascinating setting that's set not too long after the whole country of Hyrule is in this horrendous civil war that we really don't learn much about. There's tiny hints throughout the game, little details about this war, but we're really not told much, which is fascinating. But anyway, for now, let's see what this sign says. Forest folk shall not leave these woods. But we are not a forest folk. We're not one of them. We shall leave these woods. Oh, you're leaving. I knew that you would leave the forest someday, Link, because you are different from me and my friends. But that's okay, because we'll be friends forever, won't we? I want you to have this ocarina. Please take good care of it. you received the Fairy Ocarina. This is a memento from Saria. Set it to C. You can play different notes with A. Yes, this is the first ocarina we get in Ocarina of Time. When you play my ocarina, I hope you will think of me and come back to the forest to visit. So Saria always knew that there was something different about Link, that he was destined for more than the Kokiri Forest. And he runs away. It's kind of comedic how fast he runs away, but I've always taken it as he doesn't want to kind of confront the emotions of leaving Saria, and so runs away. But this leads us to Hyrule Field. Obviously where we saw Link on Epona in the intro cutscene, and just one of the most iconic Zelda locations of all time. We'll need to cross Hyrule Field to reach Hyrule Castle, where we find the Princess of Destiny. But we'll be doing that in part 2, so if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. And I'm going to be releasing new episodes of this series every Saturday, except this weekend, where I'm going to jumpstart the series with 2 episodes. So by the time you've watched this, episode 2 will likely be live on the channel. So check that out, link in the description and a card and all that good stuff. But after that, it'll be new videos every Saturday. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, Zeltic Plays, for more of this, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.